Well, we've all heard the latest news about the trade going down between Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis. We're right here on the replay, about to get into it. Let's go. Welcome to another edition of the replay. Well, we're still trying to make your day. I'm your host, Real Deal Jabril, and we got a lot to discuss with this trade. I know you all have heard about it. If you haven't been under a rock somewhere, it is shocking. I guess some of the shock is wearing off now. If it haven't, it should be. I know there is a lot of Dallas Mavericks fans who are really disappointed. And I, for one, myself, I'll be quite honest with you, haven't been a Dallas Maverick fan since we inaugurated back in 1980. In fact, man, that was one of my joys to see the Dallas Mavericks when we first got that team, especially how in the old ABA we had the Dallas Chaparrals, and who eventually became the San Antonio Spurs. And I just remember, man, when they grabbed that overall #1 pick in '81, when Mark Aguirre was drafted, I was hoping that they probably would have gotten my guy Isaiah Thomas out of Indiana at the time. But knowing the history, knowing how the humble beginnings when Reunion Arena was up, and you wouldn't hardly see any fans starting out, and the culture definitely there was one. So names like Jeff Houston, Brad Davis, man, the list go on and on. Sam Vincent, I mentioned Mark Aguirre, Sam Perkins. Those are the earlier years. But yes, we got to talk about the new Dallas Mavericks and the new look Dallas Mavericks, because a lot has happened on the forefront. Again, Luka Doncic traded for Anthony Davis, for Maxi Christie and a first-round draft pick that many seen. If you listen to the pundits, the sports pundits, they think the Mavericks should have shopped them around and got more draft picks. But as I said before, they knew specifically who they wanted and who they was going after. And I don't think they was going to take a risk or a chance on trying to go after Joel Embiid or someone who's always in and out of the lineup as well. But let me just get my personal take on it. As I stated earlier, I said, when I first heard of the trade, like many of us, was this a hoax? Was it a joke? And big shout out to my guy, Mikado. Mikado was actually Mikado King, my former high school basketball teammate. He was the one that actually posted something. It was late in the morning. I saw it, and the post read, well, I guess Kyrie is next. But sometimes Mikado don't provide the whole full disclosure of the story, so I had to do a little bit of research. And as I was researching it, I just happened to come across a feed that said Luka traded for Anthony Davis. And again, I thought it was a hoax. I said, nah, maybe he's talking about somebody else. But of course, as we all came to learn and know, it was true. So Luka Doncic is now a Los Angeles Laker, and Anthony Davis is a Dallas Mavericks. So I don't know how you all feel about the trade. Chat out in the comment if you think that it was a good trade or a bad trade. I think right now we won't really know. I believe until probably maybe after the All-Star weekend break, the first 20 games, because that's when usually people begin to play a little bit more harder, trying to position themselves for the playoff seedings. So I think only time would tell. Now, I am on record saying if we get the Anthony Davis, the walking, I think, could be a consistent walking double-double. And I'm not just talking about 15 points, 10 boards. I'm talking about this guy can actually average 20 points and 20 boards a game. If we get that Anthony Davis, the one who came out of Kentucky, #1 selected out of the University of Kentucky, who came in with the New Orleans Pelicans, if we get that AD, if we get that healthy AD that started out with the Lakers, wind up winning the championship, although be it I will put an asterisk mark by since it was played in the bubble. But I guess a chip is a chip. But if we get that individual, I definitely truly feel and believe that the Dallas Mavericks got the best of this trade. But if we get that soft cotton, you know, I mean soft as cotton buttercup Anthony Davis, and if he started wimping out, if we get that individual, then this will go down as the worst trade, at least in the Dallas Maverick history. I don't want to say in the history overall because some can bring up the fact they shipped Herschel Walker to the Minnesota Vikings. Actually, that was more of a steal because people weren't looking at Herschel Walker at that time anyway. Uh, the way they was when he first came out of the University of Georgia and went to the USFL before he made his way to the NFL. I don't think it's to that level or to that degree because Dallas got a whole lot of draft picks out of that and did something with that. Many of those draft picks went on to win 3 Super Bowls. So I don't perceive it. It's a little bit more of a different animal, but at the same time, it has that kind of weight, that kind of magnitude. So I definitely think I believe that yeah, Nico Harris' job could be on the line. Certainly could be if this doesn't work out. Now, I think that it will work out. I truly think that it will work out because one, well, not necessarily one, but I see 2 or 3 other factors that why I think it will work out. One is that Nico Harris, he's a very astute individual. Looking at some of his resume, he played basketball for West Point, and anybody, if you know the history about West Point, it's like a military school where they have a lot of disciplines. And also, he's used to being on the big stage, but it's just been behind the scenes. And he's used to being with individuals who are like these real dominant alpha males. Many of y'all have already heard, that he did some dealings with Kobe Bryant. Him and Rob Pelinka, who's Kobe's manager, they done business in the past together. He was a lead exec over at Nike. He worked with Michael Jordan, LeBron James. So Nico Harris knows his way around the boardrooms. And I guess if you're gonna swing big. Yeah, swing big. Don't swing small. That's why we always say if you're gonna think big, because you're gonna think anyway. So you might as well think big. So he took a shot. And he's saying that he fits our timeline in terms of what we're trying to accomplish now, the present day, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now. There's been a lot of things that's been alleged, whether if they are true or not. I mean, you make the call, you be the judge. But, usually where there's smoke, there is fire. And time again, we've watched Luka Doncic come in the off season. He may go over the year, play in the summer league or something of this effect, knowing that the NBA training camp, basketball training camp, usually starts around October, and he'll play all the way up to August or what have you, and then maybe have whatever kind of wear and tear that's been on his body, and he come in and limp into the season, and it's always something going on. Either he's out of shape, he's not conditioned enough. He started to get these injuries. He actually played with a bad knee, if y'all recall, in the finals. But it's always something. He didn't realize that he was going to go that deep into the playoffs. And I remember Kyrie Irving making a statement last year in the playoffs when he said, Luka came up to him and told him, said, "Man, I'm so exhausted, and I'm so tired." And Kyrie responded, he said, "Yeah, it's supposed to be that way." Kyrie understood the level for which they was playing and what they was playing for. So Luka, he was really done. But I think Kyrie was at his back, goading him, encouraging him, and urging him, "Man, we got to finish this. We got to continue this." And I think when you're paying a guy $40 million already, why should he need to be motivated by anybody? And see, I think the league, for me personally, I don't think they should be let off the hook simply because these guys, they coast anyway during the first, few months of the season. They got this low management, and they kind of encourage these guys to take nights off. That's why this league, the product is just not the same. It's just not. I don't want to go down memory lane, but I will make a point referencing the guys of yesteryears, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, those individuals, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's, even the AC Greens, who they call Iron Man. These guys played a full season. And these guys today, man, I mean, if they get a little cough, if they cough 3 times, they talking about, they can't play tonight. They just don't have that real assertiveness, that dog mentality, the way the old school guys had it, And I don't know why it changed, because it didn't definitely make the product better. But I think this sends a message around to the rest of the NBA, and if you want to be honest, I think it sends a message around all the sports leagues. I think these owners, man, they're gonna take a page out of Nico Harris' books, especially if this works out. They're gonna take back the player trying to dictate to the owner. I can see that definitely on the horizon now. They're gonna get back to when you come in demanding for a trade, or you're doing certain things to give the impression that you no longer want to be there. They're gonna go ahead and get you up out of there. They're gonna go ahead and get you up out. It's gonna be one of those Jimmy Johnson type style techniques that happened, way back in the early 90s. And I think that's where the focus is gonna start shifting, especially again if this thing work out, which I like to think that it will. But the second point I was gonna make was that not only Nico Harris, but he also has Jason Kidd, as we already know, who coached him in 2020 on that championship team. So you got 2 individuals there. And then I just think the overall pieces, him going back to the natural position that he want to play, which is the power forward position, and being the number 4. That's our Tim Duncan. If I had to look at a position right now, that can really solidify what we're trying to accomplish in this particular culture and what they're trying to do on the defensive end of the floor. I think him moving to the 4, and you got Daniel Gafford, man. And Daniel Gafford been playing lights out. I don't know if y'all watching the Mavericks or not, but this guy's coming up with big time block shots. He's scoring points. He had like a 29 and 10 a few nights ago. But Daniel Gafford, man, he's giving you minutes, real good minutes. And of course, you got the youngster Derek Lively, whom I hope the rumors get dispelled and not true. They're saying that the Dallas Mavericks may make one more trade. I think it may be one of the guards as opposed to our front line, because we would have a really good front line with those 3 individuals. But yeah, the backcourt, we kind of crowded, if you ask me, because we got Young Hardy. Of course, we know Clay is there. We got Spencer Dinwiddie. Dante Exum is back. So, and we got a couple other young people that's coming off the bench. So I don't know if it's going to be a guard for sure, but I do think that's where I would be leaning if I had to say that the Mavericks are going to try to make another move before the trade deadline is over with. But meanwhile, again, let's talk about this, the issues again of what brought this about. And I know you all have heard so many stories regarding it. One of the things that they didn't bring up, or at least I haven't heard it or seen it, was the incident, if y'all recall, in the playoff last year when he was drinking a beer. Speaking about Luka Doncic, and Michael Finley walked by and snatched the beer out of his hand, and he didn't want him drinking the beer. And people start talking about, man, he just played a wonderful game. Can he have a cold one? Well, yeah, if you was probably PJ Washington, maybe. But when you're Luka Doncic and you're having weight issues constantly, I don't think that's a good look. I don't think that is a good look. But again, I want to go and play some of the press conference with Nico Harris and Jason Kidd. If you haven't already heard it, let's get into this a little bit and listen to what Nico Harris and Jason Kidd had to say about the trade.
He likes without actually talking to him. Hey, would you like, so I know that. And JK coached them when they won a championship. So I think when you're aligned with your coach like that, I know the type of players that he likes. And so I felt good about it making sense to where we're trying to go.
Okay, he just stated that it makes sense to where they was trying to go, what they're trying to do. And he said a lot more. You all can go back to the YouTube and play the entire, press conference. But I like Nico Harris from afar, never met him. I know individuals who actually know him personally. Shout out to my boy Big Mike. who played in the league. But Nico is a guy, I think he's straightforward. He has a certain way of doing things and want to do things professionally. And I know, as he stated in so many words, he wasn't looking to try to throw anybody under the bus. But he said there will be those who would add to the culture and those who wouldn't add to the culture, you know. And I think they had just gotten fed up with a lot of stuff that we probably won't know. And I think somehow a little bit of it will begin to come out later. But right now, I think there are some things that we just don't know that's in house, and they've had a 7-year opportunity to look at this, to look at all of this. So it's not like it's new to them. And we've heard all of the talk about Luka making the money in line to get a supermax deal where they will be paying him close to $70 million a year. And if he's not motivated or with the 40 million now, imagine what he would do if he was getting $70 million a month. So you shouldn't have to tell guys who are like a generational talent. I'm gonna put that word in inverted commas because I said already, you really can't make that claim generational talent if you don't play both ends of the floor. And everybody knows that Luka Doncic is a liability on the defensive side of the ball. So generational talent, when I think about generational talent, I think about the Michael Jordans again, the Kobe Bryants, the LeBron James, and several others that comes to mind. Those are generational talents who get it done on both ends of the floor. But we don't see that in Luka Doncic. So there was a question mark there. I think there was more question marks than pluses. So you have to start doing your due diligence and going through the process of elimination. Is this a fit or is it not a fit? And we also heard Nico said, hey, we had to get out in front of this thing. Yeah, I don't know how many of y'all caught that, but he said we had to get out in front of this thing because there were some things that was happening that they saw. And I think they had conversations about it. And sometimes, you don't have to say a whole lot. Like I'm gonna play a clip in just a second from a fan who made a statement that I totally disagree with. And here we go.
We're not. How many times the emotions running high for the most shocking trade in NBA history?
And I can't. I actually have no words.
The Mavs trading Luka to the Lakers?
It's unforgivable to trade a player of his caliber. You don't do that. That's a career-altering, a franchise-altering move.
While Nico Harrison was comfortable with the decision, many others were not.
Okay, so that fan said you don't trade a player of his caliber. And I disagree with that. You trade anybody. Anybody is expandable if they're not checking all the boxes. And we know there's been trades galore throughout all in sports history. Players who you thought was going to be there wind up being put on the trading blocks for whatever reason. Maybe they lost sight. Maybe they lost focus of what the team goal were. Maybe there was a headache. They was whatever it was. They got traded. So you're saying you don't trade an individual of his caliber? No, I differ with that. If you go through a situation where last year you make it to the NBA Finals, and you see who you're up against. Right now, OKC is the number 1 team in the West. Okay, so they went and got I think it's Hammerstein from New York Knicks, kind of beefed up their front line a little bit. They already had the tall center that they drafted. And so when you're looking at that, on the surface, you say, okay, if we were to play them right now, how do we really stack up? We got the guard play, but is that going to allow us to win a championship? You got Boston still over there in the East. So this is a decision that he made. This is a decision that Nico Harris made. And as he said, he understood the archetype player that Jason Kidd enjoys coaching. They're trying to win a championship. And he said he's the right fit now. But let's listen to that second part of that press conference regarding the trade.
I think it's important to know that J. Kidd and I, we've had a vision in the culture that we want to create since we've been here. And the players that we're bringing in, we believe exemplify that. And, you know, we think defense wins championships. And we're bringing in one of the best two-way players in the league.
Okay, there you have it. There you have it. He said, we're bringing in one of the best two-way players. And he speaks about culture. And I heard Shannon Sharp, he was talking about this earlier. Well, actually on the show Nightcap, as well as on ESPN, he was talking about this word culture. When you're building culture, you know, that says a lot, because you got to have people who have one focus, one goal in mind, one heartbeat, as they say, focusing on the same goal. You know, if other players are coming in shape, doing what they have to do during the all season to get themselves together, you know, physically, mind, body, soul, all of that, then you should be doing the same, especially when you're the actual the highest player that's being paid on the team, and you're a leader. You're a leader. So you didn't have to tell Michael Jordan this. You didn't have to tell Kobe Bryant this. You didn't have to tell Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and them this. I mean, they took it upon themselves. That's why they practiced the way they did in practice, because the game became so easy because they was physically going at it in practice. And so this is not a conversation. If you think about it, those individuals who cheated the game or took, you know, days off, or however you want to look at it, and who only really played on a supernatural God-given talent, look at what happened. They walked away without a ring. You talk about Allen Iverson, as great as Allen Iverson was, and he was. Y'all remember the famous statement, practice? We're talking about practice. You know, even with Charles Barkley. Of course, he ran to Michael Jordan, that machine, that juggernaut. But still, I mean, he left them, Phoenix, went to the Rockets. They said he came out of shape again. But when he was really concentrating on his weight, keeping his weight down, Charles Barkley won the MVP in 1993. Although I think that was a year that Jordan should have got it too. It was a year that Jordan should have got it. It was that year and another year when Karl Malone had gotten it. Definitely when Karl Malone had got it, but that's another story for another day. But the point is, I'm saying, man, you're the superstar. You're the one that they're counting on. You're the one supposed to be the leader. You're the one that's supposed to be the first guy out and the last guy to lead the building. But you come in every year for 7 years straight. I get it. You know, he's 25, but he's definitely old enough to know. I mean, I'm quite sure he's seen the history of the NBA. He understands the greats. He said LeBron James was his favorite player growing up. I mean, so understand, you cannot cheat the game. You cannot cheat the game. And so I got another individual I want to play real quick, because when he talks, I really listen to this guy, because this individual really is sober-minded when he talks basketball. And I really like his take a lot of times. And I'm talking about the great Kenny Smith, but this is what he had to say about the trade.
He played, but on paper.
Do you agree with Nico? They're in a better spot now to win.
The only way you could judge people being better if it's when actual play happens. So I wouldn't say that you're better or worse. You have to the game has to be played. But on paper, you know, he could feel that way. To me, there's only 2 or 3 questions that make sense. Is one, the behavior of individuals of that talent inside of the organization. Do they have leadership qualities that they felt that could lead them on? And thirdly, the Supermax. Were you willing to pay it? So if any of those answers would no, that's why this trade happens.
There you have it with Kenny Smith. So, you know, he mentioned that toward the end about the Supermax, if the Dallas Mavericks was really willing to pay the Supermax. I believe that they would have paid the Supermax, but they just didn't want to give a Supermax to an individual who was lazy about his conditioning when you're supposed to be the superstar or the leader on the team, both him and Kyrie Irving. So they didn't want to take that chance. They didn't want to take that risk. And I get it. I truly get it. You give a guy $70 million, well, you just got 70 more million problems. And as they say, you know, money really shows people who they really are. You know, it don't make you any wiser. It just really makes you or show you other individuals who you really are. So, you know, granted, you know, he came in the league young as a teenager, 19. I get all of that. And there should have been some wiggle room. There should have been some growth. But hey, Kobe Bryant came in straight out of high school. We can name individuals who came straight out of high school. Kevin Garnett came straight out of high school. This is no excuse for Luka Doncic year in and year out continue to show up in the condition and shape that he in. And I think no one would take anything away that Luka Doncic is that dude. I'm not gonna sit here and I'm not gonna, throw him under the bus because he's no longer, wearing a Mavericks jersey, which is my favorite team. My heart probably beat more faster for the Dallas Mavericks than it do for the Dallas Cowboys. That's another story for another day. But you can't again reward a guy who time and time again continues to show you that he's half foot in, half foot out. Because if you're trying to win a championship, and that should be, be fairly compensated for your talents, absolutely. But the ultimate goal is to win the championship. And you're one of the leaders on the team, if not the leader. And time again, you've shown that, again, you may be half foot in and half foot out. I think and hope that this will very humble. This is very humbling, and then we will humble him and make him respond in a positive way. I do think if he does that, I think the Lakers will have the upper hand in the long run, because you're definitely going to surround some pieces around Luka Doncic, because LeBron James, he's not the future. He's not the now. It's a changing of the guard. And I think if they don't decide to trade LeBron James before the trade, then I know he say that he's going to stay on or what have you. I do think that that's a strong possibility he won't be there next year. So I think they want to kind of just maybe see how this work out this year, and hopefully LeBron can give him that last little spark, the history of the game, and maybe he take away within the next few months, take something away from LeBron, because they're definitely shooting towards the future. The Los Angeles Lakers, I'm speaking of. So again, I know there was a lot of fans that was disappointed initially. Again, I was kind of swimming inside of my head trying to figure out, man, was this a good trade? Was it a bad trade? And I said, you know what, we really won't know until I think 20 games into the rest of the season after the All-Star break. But again, as I stated earlier, if we get the Anthony Davis, the number 1 pick out of Kentucky, the Anthony Davis, who we know can go get 20 points and 20 boards, and if he stays healthy, I think the Dallas Mavericks definitely have put themselves as at least if not the first, I'm going to say the first. Yeah, I think they can do damage with this front line, and Kyrie in the backcourt, and Klay Thompson at the shooting guard, and what have you, and the guys that they have coming off the bench who can create their own shots, like again Spencer did with them. So if those guys, man, put their work in, and I think something like this that Nico Harris did, it sends a message. It definitely sends a message. So I think those guys is going to respond the right way, because if they don't, it's one of those attitudes, you can be next. It's kind of like that Jimmy Johnson thing, that syndrome. You can be next. So I think it's going to be definitely rewarding, definitely a good thing. We just got to be patient, and we cannot become like this particular fan right here, because when I saw this right here, man, I was in stitches. I was laughing at this fan right here, because he was definitely adamant and passionate about him some Luka Doncic.
He's supposed to have a statue. Dirk got a statue right there. It's supposed to be Luka right there. Why we don't got a statue for Luka?
So I mean, man, he was going into convulsions, boy. He was, man, call up Adam Silver. The paperwork was over the weekend. Veto the trade, stop the trade. He what is the Dallas Mavericks doing? Nico Harris got to go. He should have another statue next to Dirk. No, that won't be happening. So again, we wish Luka Doncic nothing but the best. Much success to him. When he, put on that Lakers uniform. I don't want him to have any success against the Dallas Mavericks when he put it on, but that's also yet remain to be seen. But like I say, man, it's been a nice ride, man. He's still Luka, he's still Arsenal. Hopefully, this will just make him a better professional human being as it relates to the sports. So I wanted to come on here. This is the Replay Sports Show where we're still trying to make your day. Please, I didn't say it in the beginning because I wanted to wait to the end this time so it'll be fresh on your mind. Please hit the like, subscribe, share, notification button. Again, we're going to continue to bring you content, stories like this, and many other things. And don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed to the Black Vocracy channel, please do that also. You can go to YouTube and type in BLACVOCRACY, Vocracy, Black Vocracy. So again, I want to thank y'all for joining me on the replay. We'll be back again with another one. We got the Super Bowl coming up. You know, I don't know. I haven't decided, you know, who's gonna win that game, but I think I'm gonna go with Chiefs. I said it anyway. I said it's gonna be Chiefs and Eagles. The Chiefs should win it all, and they should. So we shall see. So again, thank y'all for joining me on the replay, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, y'all.